Hey, what's happening, guys? Dan Darrow here with another Options and Play video update. So, I hope you guys are enjoying the calm before the storm here. So, a little bit quieter start to the week, but that is obviously going to change pretty quickly. So, in a matter of days, you're going to have earnings season kicking off, and then for the next 1, 2, 3, 4 weeks, really, it's just going to be an absolute. We're going to be absolutely slammed with just big report after big report after a big report. So, um, I love to use like these few sessions when there isn't maybe a whole lot of scheduled news to really start to kind of prep for what's coming up, right? Because you're gonna get when you get into that heart of earnings season, you'll have days when there's just hundreds of names scheduled at the same time, so it can be kind of chaotic if you don't really have a plan and don't really know what you're looking for. So. It's a good time to go over some things, but it doesn't mean that there isn't like interesting names this week because there are. And actually, Bed Bath and Beyond, right, which you probably wouldn't have thought, is actually one of the more interesting ones. And when I look at stuff for trades, or when I look at like setups for trades, I try to come with like a fresh set of eyes each time. Not necessarily judge it just off what it did. Last couple quarters, last quarter, or even like the last year, just kind of, like try to judge it on like the merits of like the current setup. I mean, obviously, historically, what it did is going to factor in, but still, I'm not going to completely dismiss the stock just because maybe last quarter it didn't do anything, or the last couple quarters it didn't do anything, right? So, coming into the week, Bed Bath and Beyond, not my favorite name. All right, so um, I have traded this guy in the past, right? There's been some options to play trades on this thing. Uh, weren't in it in January, and actually, surprisingly, they raised guidance for the first time in over like a year. So you can see they had this pretty sharp move. And what's happened on Bed Bath and Beyond, just I guess over the last since the start of this year, has made this a little bit more interesting of a setup. All right, so uh, first off, this so they're coming off their first guidance raise in a while, okay, and what that's done is basically set up like this rebound into the gap from September, and it was trading above the 200-day prior to this. So this was activist news. So like that's something I'll get to in a second. But it was trading above the 200-day prior to this, and now it's comfortably above the 200-day, right? And what you can see is that this stock hasn't traded above the 200-day into an earnings report since 2016. So it's been a long time. And then me scrolling out here on the chart, it really wants to it highlights something else that makes this interesting, right? This stock has been an underperformer for so long that like the first sign of a rebound, which it's currently trying to do right now, could really pick up some momentum because the performance on this over the last 3, 4 years has been absolutely horrendous. All right. So whenever you start to see like these signs of life and the stock starting to maybe early trying to turn the corner here, then it's worth paying attention because as it starts to build and clear like previous levels, it could really start to pick up momentum. All right, and so what happened here is an activist. So the activist came in, is like trying to shake things up, right, and that's just kind of added like another element to what makes this quarter interesting, right? So you got the activists like they're agitating, right? They're saying they want change. The entrenched CEO, so on and so forth. So now you got the activist in here, right? And it's created so not only like this significant gap underneath, but it's put it like well into the gap from September. So now if Bed Bath and Beyond beats, so not only is that gap now removed, but then it would put it basically up into like the top of resistance here, and that could even set up a greater move, right? So it created this really monster gap underneath, and now it closed the gap above, and it kind of puts pressure on bears, which gets to my next point, right? Is that there's like 35% of the float short. So people that were leaning into this thing, right? Had like a decent quarter, rolled over, popped, rolled over. People are probably leaning into it, saying it was a one-off. The stock is still like a cooked turkey; it's not going anywhere. Then all of a sudden, you got the activist comes in, stock rockets higher, is above a key long-term moving average. And if they can put together maybe like another good quarter, it was really, really going to pressure that 35% short interest, which probably got caught on the wrong side of this as that activist maybe took people by surprise, right? So the options are priced in. The weekly straddle is priced in about 2.5 points, right? It moved. It moved basically. So here last quarter, it moved basically 3 points over a 2 day stretch. So that was back when it was like a $10 to $11 stock. The prior quarter, it moved closer to 4 points. So average it out. Say like the last two quarters. Considering like the 2 day move here, so about three. Say about four. You're looking at 3.5. It's pricing in 2.5. So there seems to be some room there. And then when you throw in the fact that there is significant gap underneath. It's working on the break of 3-4 year downtrend. It's through key moving average. 35% of the float is short, and it's the holiday quarter. To boot. It just seems that there's so many things indicating that this stock could be set up for a much larger move than what's priced in. That to me it makes it interesting, and that's why I'm looking at a volatility strategy for Bed Bath and Beyond this week, right? So again, you try to like view setups through like a fresh set of eyes and not necessarily judge it by what it did last quarter, or the quarter before that, or what it did over the last year, right? Like, things can change pretty quickly. I mean, we've seen that in this market before, and things could possibly be changing pretty quickly and in a dramatic fashion on Bed Bath and Beyond. And whether or not it's higher or lower obviously remains to be seen. But with so many things indicating that this could be kind of a wild move, I definitely feel like it's something you should put on your radar. All right. So let me know what you think. I know Bed Bath & Beyond is probably not a normal trading name for a lot of you guys, but on a week like this where there isn't a whole lot scheduled, I just felt like it was one of the more interesting ones. So I'd love to hear what your thoughts are. So, as always, reach out with questions or comments. I'd love to hear from you. Even if you just want to like bounce an idea off me, see what I think. That's perfectly all right in my book. So, the more you reach out, the more I get a feel for what you're looking for, and then I can tailor these videos more in tune with that. All right. So have an awesome night, and I'll talk to you guys tomorrow.